Hello and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Movie News here at MBE. I am joined with the glugging of protein shakes, John C. Walsh, who's not on the camera at the moment, but you can probably hear him gulping away at his protein shake. Good on you, John.
Yes, I'm endeavouring to be like Chris Evans, Stephen.
The one from Radio 1, of course, you're talking about.
Captain America.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome.
I will get there.
Welcome to our YouTube show and our Twitch show as well. I'm just going to kick on with it while you're enjoying that shake, John. Dune director struggling to finish movie in time for release date. Dune director Denis Villeneuve admits he's struggling to finish the movie on time for its December release date due to remote post-production. In an interview with CCTV, Villeneuve explained how the pandemic's made things harder on Dune, with everyone working from different locations. He said this: "I was planning to go back and shoot some elements later because I wanted to readjust the movie. I needed time. At the time I didn't know that it would be a pandemic, as we were all about to go back to do those elements. The impact was that it crushed my schedule right now. It will be a sprint to the finish the movie on time right now because we were allowed to go back to shoot those elements in a few weeks. It meant also that I have to finish some elements of the movie like visual effects and the editing being in Montreal as my crew stayed in Los Angeles." Now, John, I don't know if you actually read into the director's sort of way of he works with the editors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Traditional way. They all sit in a room and they bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah.
It's all to do with obviously interaction, the energy in the room at the time, making decisions. So you can actually understand where he's coming from in regards to what a lot of directors are doing at the moment, just because of the situation where they're having to work remotely, working on Microsoft Teams or whatever, Zoom meetings or whatever it is, to get the job done. This is just not the way he works.
No.
He works with feel, he works with the energy, and he likes to work with his editors as well. So you can understand where he's coming from, can't you?
I can, Stephen. I'm going to flick that graphic on. Well, yeah, I can. I feel sorry for him because obviously no one visualised a pandemic being something that would strike this year. So it's took everyone by surprise. It's caught everyone off guard, perhaps, set from those in Wuhan in the middle of China. They knew exactly what was happening in that lab, just a couple of 100 yards away from a wet market. They knew. No one else did though. And sadly it's had disastrous effects for everything really in the world, not just entertainment related, but primarily because we speak about the entertainment thing. Yeah. The industry, all cogs and wheels and bolts and nuts and screws and whatnot within it. Don't know why I'm going that deep into this sort of tangent, but I digress, you know what I'm saying? We speak about movies, so that's what we care about, and it's had a disastrous effect on just production of movies and post-production as well. I say it's had a disastrous effect on post-production, but I'm maybe not telling the whole truth there, because as you did say, Stephen, he's got a different way of dealing with crafting the sort of post-experience, bringing the movie together and editing. He likes to bounce it off of his team of editors and just the other people who are working together. You've got guys like James Gunn who do it very differently, and we've seen him speaking about how he's been working happily away at home remotely on the post-production of the Suicide Squad, and he's been doing a great little job of it. We've seen the animator doing Space Jam 2. Yeah. So different strokes for different folks. Some people seem to work better with coffee and whatnot in their house, just battering away. Maybe Zoom calls opened up, working with the rest of the people involved in the post experience, just the visual effects and whatnot, bouncing ideas off of each other. But understand, it's not so easy for Denis because he likes to do things slightly different. He's a more hands-on approach and working in a team. And it's classic. Everybody's different. Everybody is different. We're all wired differently. Some like to lone wolf it. Other people like to work in teams. I'm sure he'll get it done. I've got no concerns. I mean, this movie's not due out until December, I don't think, so that puts us September.
Well, I think it was 4 months. I think it was November, John, originally.
November, so about 4 months.
At the end of the day, it's not that's the worst case scenario. Well, I'm saying it's the worst case scenario just now. It could change again. We're playing it week by week at the moment, as you said.
Not guaranteed that will even come out this year.
No, exactly, John. Warner Brothers will consider if he can't sprint to the finish. There's always that December slot. I think it's only Wonder Woman.
Brothers that are doing this as well.
Yeah, Wonder Woman 1984. I think is the only one penciled in for December anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and that's a complete film. So that's definitely going to go ahead in December if things obviously stay the same or improve, but who knows?
Stephen, I'm excited though about this movie, just from that quote alone. The fact that he's telling you that he envisaged going back and doing little things and just changing little things. He had a plan in his mind, a structure for this movie. He's been back and he's meticulously did it. I think they've done the reshoots and whatnot. That's what I took from the quote.
Yep.
That's now put added pressure on. He has to come and try and find a way to fit it into a tighter time schedule and get this movie completed. But I'm excited, man. The man knows what he's doing. We've seen it with Blade Runner 2049. We've seen it with Arrival, a whole array of other movies he's crafted. He knows how to balance all of these complex themes and whatnot. Great sort of allegory in there and Arrival. And with this, by all accounts, I started reading the book, fell away from it a little bit. But by all accounts, one of the main strengths of this book is the way it tackles sort of societal issues. There's like satirical takes on what's happening with climate change and I think it's gender fluidity and stuff like that. There's just touches upon all of those societal issues. 40-year-old book. It's had a real impact in multiple people's lives, so he really has to get this right. There's been 2 other takes on the story. They've been disastrous. I think it was David Dyer done a TV show in the early 2000s. There was some other god-awful movie. They've not been great. I've got confidence in Denis that he'll get it right. He'll adapt it. With that cast, you really can't go wrong if the script is there. He's not going to attract the likes of Chalamet and Josh Brolin and all the other people if it isn't there, the script. So I'm confident he'll get it done. I'm confident all the visual effects will be done. By all accounts, huge, big, towering worm things coming out of the sand and whatnot. Really have to get the visual effects bang on. It's a sort of sci-fi epic. I think you'll do it. I've
got every confidence. Yes, I have as well, John. I think Warner Brothers as well, I think are confident this is going to go ahead in November or December as well, because the trailer's coming out this month, so that will be the beginning of promotion, I'm sure. So fingers crossed, because it's one of the films we've been talking about for most of the year that we're looking forward to. So we'll just have to see, but we'll move on, John, to a piece of news that dropped earlier on, and this is to do with a Netflix release. It's The Devil All the Time, and this website is really lagging. The Devil All the Time first looks unites Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson on Netflix. The first photos from director Antonio Campos, The Devil All the Time, have been revealed ahead of the movie's release next month. I knew nothing about this film, John. I don't know about yourself, but this was Entertainment Weekly on Twitter said Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Bill Skarsgård, Riley Keough and Sebastian Stan star in The Devil All the Time. See the first look at the film, and you can follow that on their Twitter account, which is obviously linking to their website, Entertainment Weekly.
Robert Pattinson's magnificent head of hair.
Now there's a few quotes in here, John. First from Antonio Campos, who had this to offer about the plot. He said it's a multi-strand narrative set between the end of World War II and the beginning of America's involvement in Vietnam, in which a motley group of characters' lives all intersect. And Tom Holland followed up by saying this: I was really eager to work with Antonio because his previous films that I've seen are very raw. I guess it was the challenge of doing a different accent, playing the rural kid, a period film, a new director, everything ticked the boxes for me. And just to finish it off for the quote of all quotes, John, is coming in from his brother, who alongside wrote the screenplay, Paulo Campos, said this: it was a hard book to adapt also because there was so much that we loved. I'm a big fan of Southern Gothic and noir, and this was a perfect marriage of the two. Sometimes you might be adapting a piece and you think like, well, there is a seed of a good idea here and I'll just throw everything away and start from scratch. In this case, it was like, we love everything. That's the problem though, isn't it, with a good book, especially if you want to adapt it to film. Lord of the Rings, John, you've read those books time and time again. And sometimes it's just not possible to squeeze everything that you want into a film.
Tom Bombadil get cut, rightly so.
Peter Jackson has to make compromises, and you know, sometimes directors being directors are very creative people and maybe want to do a different take on part of a story and stuff like that. It's not going to please everyone, but then again, you make a film from word from word from a book. Some people just not like it anyway, so you might as well have a bit of fun with it.
No, Stephen, you can't win. No. If you, as you rightly said, if you adapt everything word by word and make it as faithful as possible adaptation, you'll have people saying they're not taking enough risks. They're just sort of leaning upon the source material. Sort of spice it up and do different little things. Add your own little creative flair into the process. Likewise, if you completely butcher it, like apparently Stanley Kubrick did with The Shining, you have the likes of Stephen King breathing down your neck and just moaning and groaning about how it's not the story I created. He's butchered it. It's an absolute blasphemous pile of crap, which of course is absolute nonsense. I'm heavily paraphrasing Stephen King here, incidentally.
Yeah.
The man probably didn't say any of those
You
things.
paraphrased them quite well last night.
Yeah, he's his first pictures as director. Yeah, but so, I mean, you can't really win, Steve.
No.
That's what I'm saying. So, I love the passion that they've got for this story. I've not really heard of this chap, Campos. I can't lie. I've looked back at his filmography. I've not seen anything the chap has done prior to this. But if Tom Holland's waxing lyrically about the man's directing ability and his ability to really get a good story onto film, then I'll bow down to Tom's superior knowledge. He is in the business. He's a fine actor. I'm sure he has more knowledge on the working directors in Hollywood today than Amir Plevington from Glasgow. But I really like the passion that's coming out. I don't know much about the book.
No.
But I do love the setting. I love the story. I like the fact that it is this multi-strand sort of story where you've got different characters perhaps doing their own different thing, all being brought in. It's a bit like, what was that one? Was it Crash?
Yeah, that was a good
Took
film.
the word right out of my mouth, Stephen. People who are completely disconnected from each other, they all come together and they all play a huge part in each other's lives. That can work really well if it's handled correctly. So I hope it is, because you look at the cast, man. Bill Skarsgård's in there, Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Jason Clarke. It's a stupendous cast. And Jason Clarke, we love to have a laugh and joke about him and how he's a sort of smug Chandler, but he is a fine actor.
Yeah,
he's really came in his own in the last 5-6 years for me. I've really enjoyed him in the Pet Sematary. I thought he was good. I'm getting absolutely destroyed by dust here, Steve. What is going on?
It also says, John, about the quality of pictures from Netflix as well. We talk about this all the time when the newsletter drops. It's just how far that company have came, in the last decade or so. Not even the last decade. I'd say the last 5 years. They've just been on the the ascendancy. But
all it takes is one good movie, Steve, from an established director, and they can see the benefits of what a streaming service can bring to the film industry. Then you have all the other directors jumping on. I'm not entirely sure who the first director to take the punch would have been in terms of big names. It certainly wasn't Scorsese. It wasn't Alfonso Cuarón, but someone's come in prior. And then you're getting the likes of the Coen brothers jumping in. Scorsese, we've got the likes of Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans and whatnot making Netflix movies. Ryan Reynolds is coming in. Yeah. Now we've got this, an absolutely ridiculous star-studded cast. I would imagine this wasn't originally a Netflix movie, though. If I was to guess, I would imagine it would be one they've picked up in the sort of virtual festival circuit, for lack of better phrasing, because I know we had a virtual Cannes, we had a virtual Toronto Film Festival or something. That's what they usually do. They go in and nitpick and buy the sort of publishing rights to these movies that have not been picked up. So I'd imagine this is a similar thing, much like what they've done with that. No, that's not them. That's actually Apple TV Plus, The Killing of the Flower Moon or something, the Scorsese DiCaprio one. Stephen, I like what they say at the end though, and they're right. With the whole uncertainty over the Oscars this year and which movies are going to be eligible. Movies not getting released, like Tenet getting pushed back again and again. Doubt over whether they will release this year. This could be a great time for a movie like this to slip in. The Devil All the Time could potentially be nominated for a Best Picture.
Could be, John.
Holding a rift in here, Stephen.
The times are changing. But the other thing I was going to ask you, John, was the time period. Yeah. I've not seen many films in this time period, personally, from, in between that time between World War II and the Vietnam War. Yeah. There's not many, is there?
No, there isn't. I've seen a lot of Vietnam War movies. Yeah. Some of them terrible, most of them okay. I've seen a lot of World War II movies, but I've not seen anything set in between. That's the sort of Korean War era, when things were booming in the United States and stuff like that. In most environments in the United States, things were booming. We had the baby boom, we had the economy really busting into life after the World War. People were really doing well. This is apparently going to be set in the South. I think it was Tom Holland saying he's got that sort of rustic, authentic Southern accent he can get his talons into. So I'm intrigued, man. I'm intrigued by the story. I'm intrigued by the period setting. I'm intrigued by just the whole concept of all these actors coming in that being multi-threaded. I'm going to watch it, man. I've subscribed to Netflix anyway, so there's no excuses for me not to.
Apparently it's will premiere, or it will arrive on Netflix on September 16th, so we're 6 weeks away, 7 weeks away, so not long. So looking forward to it. But we'll move on to our next topic, John. It's James Gunn debunks rumour Poison Ivy appears in the Suicide Squad, following an online rumour claiming Alice Braga is playing Poison Ivy in the Suicide Squad. I don't know where this came from, but he does have something to say about the website did come from. Director James Gunn.
Is that we got this covered, Benny Jones?
I don't know, John, but that was...
I think it may be, Stephen.
Takes the social media to debunk this now. It's just down here. Yeah, rumours have begun swirling online that the new cast member Alice Braga is playing famous DC villain Poison Ivy. Gunn caught wind of these rumours and criticised supposed leaks online that treats everything as fact. When directly asked about a Poison Ivy appearance, Gunn firmly said it's not true, it's BS.
Such like most BS
stuff off this particular site, referring to the website that originated the rumour. I don't think I actually mentioned the website within the article, John. Maybe
it's definitely we got this covered.
Maybe for legal reasons, but you can't sue us because we're skint anyway.
Exactly.
We do this for free. So, well, what's your take on this, John? Because obviously the character Poison Ivy is perhaps, I don't want to say too large for the Suicide Squad, but perhaps is, because it's a well-known character, and the Suicide Squad, for laymen's like ourselves coming into that original film, out with the Joker, the characters from our point of view weren't as big as the Joker, were they?
No, they weren't. No, they were side characters, Boomerang and was it Katana, I think was the other one, and I think we may have had Killer Croc in there as well, but it was a sort of neutered, smaller version of Killer Croc. So you're right, she is a little bit A-list in terms of the who's who of villainry and the DC side of things. These guys are a little bit more like the Teen Titans of the DC side of things, are lesser. And to bring her in, I don't know, the whole story would have to be crafted around Poison Ivy for it to work. She'd have to be the main villain. And look, I mean, I think it was Enchantress or something. I think that's what her name was. That shite sort of witch character played by Cara Delevingne. And the first Suicide Squad, she was... I mean, Poison Ivy's better than her. So I suppose you could make it work if she's the villain, but I don't know. I don't know if she would work. The whole vibe of that character would work with a James Gunn movie. He seems to have a distinct tone, and I don't know if it would mesh with that sort of... She's a very serious character, isn't she? It's like kind of seductress.
Uma Thurman played her in Batman and Robin. I think that was her only appearance on film, John. But
I suppose you could, because obviously your man from the first Guardians, whose name completely eludes me, the villain in that, he was very serious as well. And you had the likes of Star-Lord just ripping the absolute shit out of him, doing the dance-off at the end and whatnot. Yeah. So it's not a barrier to having a more serious, up-themselves villain. He could do something with it, but he's obviously seen that it's not something he's interested in doing because he's not put it in the movie.
There's also there's time for this character to appear somewhere else, John, in the DC.
Could be in the Batman.
Could be the Batman Part 2. It could be in the Batman, we just don't know. It could be a surprise appearance, but also the Birds of Prey could appear in that. Yeah. So there is other opportunities, rumor, but it's good to see James Gunn's coming on and actually saying this is BS in his own words.
I'd love to know what the website is it?
It'll be somewhere, John, and if it's not, it's probably been pulled now since the director of the film's embarrassed them. So whoever it is...
you can't embarrass that website, Steve.
Pretty sure.
Couldn't mark their neck with a Botox. They get it tight from everybody.
Brass neck.
Everybody.
Yeah, but listen, I would like to see the the character of Poison Ivy appearing at some point, in the near future, maybe in the next 5 years or so, because I think there's a lot of potential there. Uma Thurman wasn't the worst.
It's just that movie.
It was the film was just camp. It really was camp. It was just not taking itself seriously, and it probably shouldn't have, because it just set the tones very early on. Which obviously has that chain reaction with the character having to play in that tone as well. Uma Thurman's a fine actor, so it's down to writing, it's down to tone, and as I said, she wasn't the worst in the film.
No,
so
that particular adage or whatever went to Schwarzenegger,
or perhaps
Mr. Freeze,
the guy who played Bane. He just roared.
He was terrible. But what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. That's particularly
who's your man from the ex-wrestler from Guardians of the Galaxy? What's his name
Batista.
Again? I see he put his name forward for the Bane character for the Batman. I don't know if Bane is appearing in the Batman, no. I don't know where it came from. I don't know.
He's just trying to hunt for a new job, Steve.
Muscles and a bald head. I can do Bane.
I don't want to see Bane coming back, Steve. I think the sort of the gold standard version,
the definitive version,
that was
on screen anyway. Yeah,
was the Dark Knight. I don't like that sort of on steroids, gigantic Bane villain. It's not realistic. I want to see the comic book movies going down. Certainly DC's ones going down a slightly more realistic route. I like the grimy, dark tones of DC. I don't know for the life of me why Warner Brothers keep wanting to move away from it and go whitey and airy and try and mimic sort of airiness that's sort of synonymous with the MCU. They're different. Their comics are darker.
Yeah.
Make them darker on the movie. So I want to see. But look, I'd be happy to see Poison Ivy come in as well, Steve, but just not in the Suicide Squad. I'm glad that James Gunn's come out and shut it down. If I had my choice, maybe a Sirens of Gotham City movie with Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Catwoman, maybe have it bleed over from the Batman,
call,
but
yeah.
I don't think it will happen. I think that's different. But have all these different female characters again with maybe a better villain than Black Mask or whatever the hell he was, Black Skull. See, it's just a 2D cardboard villain. By all accounts, I wouldn't know. I've not seen the movie.
But we'll move on, John, to a film that you'll definitely not see. It's
Yes.
Pineapple Express 2, sadly.
Oh.
I'm not a fan of the first one. Pineapple Express 2 almost happened. Here's why it didn't. Despite his best efforts, Pineapple Express star Seth Rogen explains why a sequel never came to fruition. If Pineapple Express co-creator and star Seth Rogen had gotten his way, we would have already had a bleary-eyed pleasure of hanging out with him and James Franco again in Pineapple Express 2. Rogen recently explained why a sequel to the beloved stoner comedy never happened, with the idea relegated to a montage and This Is the End. He said this: "We tried to make one thanks to the Sony hack. You can actually find the email when Sony decided to kill the movie and not make it. It was something we were very open to several years ago, but Sony was not that interested in it." I don't know if you know about this, John. It was a matter of $5 million. The director, I can't remember the director's name actually, Judd Apatow, I think that's how you say his name, isn't it?
Yeah, Judd Apatow,
I think the studio were giving him a $45 million budget, but he wanted 50 million. So sadly, an agreement was never met, and the Pineapple Express sequel burnt out. So I've got to say, as good a film as it is, it's not one of my favourite comedies, I've got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I've probably seen it twice. I enjoyed it, and I think anything involving Seth Rogen and James Franco are normally quite funny anyway. It's probably in the same kind of bracket as Superbad to me,
That's exactly what I
a
was
very
gonna say,
funny
yeah.
film, but it doesn't really have that rewatchability about it. Once you've seen the gags, for me anyway, it's done and dusted. So I don't even know if a sequel would have worked. We've seen classic films having sequels and it's not worked. Dumb and Dumber. And sometimes it's better just to leave things as they are. Now the $5 million thing, John, I don't really want to get into, because it's all to do with budget, marketing, and what you're getting back. I think something like they made a profit of 10 million, 15 million. I don't know what it was in the first film. The budget for this one, what the director was wanting for 50 million, was, I think, a little bit more than what I think it was only 20 odd million it took for the first one. So I think when you work it out, to just break even, it's a big ask. Never mind, making 10 million on top of that. So what's your take on that, John? And what's your take on? Is there any reason for a Pineapple Express 2 film? Do you think there's anything they can do that they didn't do in the first movie?
No, I don't, Stephen. I don't think there's any reason whatsoever to give us another Pineapple Express movie. I liked the first one. It was a unique sort of stoner comedy. As you said, it did have vibes of Superbad.
Danny McBride's in it, isn't he?
I think he is, yeah. I think that may be him in the actual photograph there. It might not be, though. I'm maybe talking
I think it is actually, it's him,
and James Franco.
Yeah.
I love James Franco, and I love the sort of bickering nature, just the stupidity, the sort of stoner elements. It was great. It was a great little comedy movie.
Yeah.
Loved the music as well, man. I really enjoyed that Bob Marley song that was in it. The Oh Time Will Tell or something. Time Will Tell. So there was elements of the movie I liked, but sometimes you just keep these movies as standalone movies. It's like Superbad. Yeah. It's better. It stands the test of time better if it's not being compared to a poorly made sequel, because try to capture what they managed to sort of create in that first movie in a sequel, it would have been very hard to do, hard to accomplish. And look, I think the bickering over a $5 million budget, that perhaps tells you something. It perhaps tells you that the director himself knew that he didn't really have what it took. Not that he didn't have what it took, but he didn't really have the script there to make this a success. Yeah. I think the fact he didn't push hard enough against it and really make the movie happen. If he wanted this movie to be made, I'm sure there would have been a compromise made, maybe somewhere in between. Maybe he would have just settled for $45 million to make the movie. In fact, he was just pushing for the $50 million. He was probably just trying to stand his ground and make himself look Billy Big Boss, as we like to say over here in Scotland. But I think in his heart of hearts he realised, look, I'm never going to better the first movie. Let's just try and push our luck and get $50 million. If it's crap, so be it. If they fight against it, I'll really make it look like I'm trying hard to make this movie and I'll get it put into production. But ultimately I know it'll fail. I think it was all, in a sense, smoke and mirrors. I don't think he really wanted to make a movie, Stephen. That's what I'm going to say on this story.
Fair enough.
$5 million in the grand scheme of things, as you says, it's not a lot of money. But when you start breaking down promotional pushes and the cuts to the theatres and whatnot, that $5 million could be the difference between a sliver of a profit and just breaking even.
Yeah.
So I can't really argue against Sony pushing back and saying nope, because as I think you says, $10 million the first movie made wasn't hit the ball out the park, home run success, not enough to justify a sequel which had an even higher budget. So ultimately it was the correct decision from Sony. Ultimately it was a correct decision because we've seen Seth Rogen going on and doing better movies, to be quite frank.
And James Franco.
And James Franco's done some really good movies. Love The Disaster Artist.
Danny McBride is putting his hand to writing now. Halloween Kills, etc.
Yeah, so it's all worked out well in the end. Everybody's went away. They made it look as though they really wanted this movie, and it was big bad Sony who were pushing against it. As I says, if they really wanted it to be made, I think it would have been made. They would have found a compromise. They would have compromised, not Sony.
Yeah.
Do you really need that extra $5 million to make Pineapple Express 2? It's not you're using big CGI effects and whatnot. It's
maybe that's the cost of a certain cake from Amsterdam, John. I don't know.
Or the magic mushrooms that good old Seth took and ended up on a train trip to Paris. He woke up the next morning in Paris.
Some of his stories are
sounds
legendary.
Like a good night, I tell you that.
John, we're going to finish up the show anyway with a little video. I think it dropped over the weekend. I certainly did pick it up over the weekend on YouTube in regards to Star Wars title changes. And Mark Hamill endorses Star Wars movie title changes with Last Jedi line. Star Wars actor Mark Hamill recently voiced his approval of a video in which a fan changes the title to each episode in the Skywalker saga to make them more appropriate. Best known for his role as Luke Skywalker in the first Star Wars trilogy, Hamill returned to the role with the new trilogy of films produced by Disney, the last and most recent being The Rise of Skywalker. Even with the new series of films now over, Hamill remains an active part of the Star Wars world, often speaking with fans and media pundits alike on his role within the movies. Now, John, just my memory is terrible, and I was trying to remember these all off the top of my head. These 9 titles.
Yes.
In the order this video had displayed them, presented them on the video that dropped over the weekend. But my memory failed me, so I asked if perhaps maybe you could help me out here. So I'm going to hand it over to you, John. We'll talk about each one, as you reveal the title for episode 1, episode 2, etc., and for the reasons why it doesn't make more sense. So over to yourself.
Yes, Stephen, episode 1, this chap's kindly says it shouldn't be The Phantom Menace, but it should be The Rise of Skywalker. Makes sense to me. The Skywalker's rising. Shmi gives up her son. Yeah. Anakin goes off with Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, goes to the council. His mentor-in-chief, Qui-Gon, gets killed, and he comes back. Obi-Wan takes over his training. Rise of Skywalker.
And also that explanation how Anakin was born as well. So that kind of bleeds into that sort of title as well.
Yeah,
Makes
it's the
sense,
Rise of Skywalker that didn't exist. The midichlorians willed him into existence. Well, they willed Shmi in first.
Rise.
Yes, Rise. And then obviously, so I agree with that one right away. Episode 2, Revenge of the Sith instead of Attack of the Clones. I never thought Attack of the Clones was an appropriate title for that movie. They never attack.
No.
They are attacked by the Geonosans.
Yeah.
It's terrible. If you were going to name any Attack of the Clones, it should be, as they say, and we'll get into that in a moment, it should be the third movie. Revenge of the Sith, well, the Sith get their revenge.
Yeah.
They come back and
Dooku,
they start,
isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, Dooku obviously comes in and starts creating havoc and whatnot.
Yeah.
The Revenge of the Sith, and obviously with the puppet master himself, Emperor Palpatine in the
Darth
shadows.
Sidious,
So that's appropriate to me as well. He's nailed it. This guy, it's strange how they're all interchangeable. He's not had to add in a title. Every one from the existing movies has been changed around and all fits better. Perhaps he should contact Disney and get them to rearrange these. It works better. Episode 3, Attack of the Clones, Stephen. They do attack. Order 66, they attack obviously all the Jedi. They purge the Jedi. Works for me, man.
Yeah.
So I don't see why.
It's the only connection I can think of.
Yes. Episode 4, Return of the Jedi instead of A New Hope.
Yeah,
The
makes
Jedi
sense.
return via Luke Skywalker. Old Ben Kenobi creeps out of Hermitage, if that's even the word. And also Yoda is contacted at some point later on. So that's a Return of the Jedi. Again, it works for me.
It works. It actually works.
It just works on some level. It's almost like the Force is willing it, you know. Episode 5, Stephen, The Force Awakens instead of Empire Strikes Back. This is the only one.
Dagobah.
This is the only one that kind of sits as blasphemy to me because the Empire does strike back in the movie. So technically that isn't wrong.
Could have been double titled.
Could have been double. Yeah.
The Force Awakens and The Empire Strikes Back. It's a bit of a long title, right?
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
I can see the sense in it though.
Yeah, the Force does awaken. Of course, it awakens within Luke.
Yeah.
Episode 6, The Last Jedi. Instead of Return of the Jedi, he's the Last Jedi. Yoda dies.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kenobi's long gone.
Apart from the line that says there is another.
There is another. Yeah, but she's not a Jedi yet.
No.
Obviously, Luke has
Remember
to
that
train
rumour
her
that was
yet.
going about a couple of years ago? That line, people were actually clinging on to it, saying that's Rey they're talking about. That's Rey. They've foreseen this. Yeah, it was Leia.
Yeah, it was definitely Leia.
Obi-Wan says it in the film.
Yeah.
Moments later, Leia.
And not just that, Stephen, but Leia was supposed to be, or the sister was supposed to be a separate character completely. Leia wasn't supposed to be the Jedi, Luke's brother. She was just the queen, or the princess, I should say. The queen. I don't know where I get that from. She was just General Princess Leia, and the sister was off in another system, and he was going to hunt her down and find her. Stephen, the next one, I presume it's episode 7, because that's what number we're on, is The Empire Strikes Back instead of The Force Awakens, because it's a new iteration of the Empire. They were vanquished.
Yeah.
Now they're struck
doesn't
back
make sense.
once again. Yeah, it's First Order. Yeah.
First Order Strikes Back. But then people would be like, who's the First Order? Don't know who they are.
Stephen, if he wants to get this perfect, swap The Force Awakens around with The Empire Strikes Back again.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
The Empire does strike back in episode 5. That is right, episode 5. I'm getting discombobulated. Discombobulated, something like Sherlock Holmes guy, Richie. Bobby Downey Jr. Stephen, episode 7 or 8, I'm again discombobulated. Episode 8, A New Hope, instead of The Last Jedi, because there is a new hope. It is Rey Skywalker. Rey, this is your first steps.
Palpatine.
Whatever happened to that? This is your first steps. Obi-Wan's speaking to you.
She took the escalator. She didn't need the steps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she just levitated. It was like R2-D2 in the Attack of the Clones. Doesn't need these little wheels. He's not like a Dalek. He can just use his boosters. Where were they in the original trilogy?
Yeah, could have used them on Tatooine. That would have been very handy for him, especially the terrain.
And on Dagobah, he wouldn't have had to have had a brush with some.
Fell off that barge as well, and Jabba's sail barge. He could have just jetpacked away. Anyway,
there's an easy get out. 20 years has passed. They fell into sort of disrepair. Everyone forgot he had them.
Lucas hadn't thought of it, let's be honest.
But Stephen, the final one, also episode 9, The Phantom Menace instead of The Rise of Skywalker.
Makes sense, yeah.
The Menace is Palpatine. He's hiding out on
it was always
Vormir.
a plan, John.
Not Vormir. Vormir is a Red Skull. What the hell was that one called? I forgot already. I've not seen the movie since the fears.
No, I can't. Exegol or something like that. Is it something like that?
Exegol, yeah. Voromir's better.
Yeah.
What works? Phantom Menace.
Well,
in the shadows.
And he was always there all along. That was the plan all along.
Yes.
Wasn't Snoke in the pickle jar?
No, we just get Andy Serkis' dulcet, wonderfully deep tones in. Just to kill him off. He was just a pickled clone.
Funnily enough, he was the first voice you heard from the sequel trilogy in that first ever trailer.
Absolutely magnificent trailer,
and
Steve.
his character didn't mean anything. He was just a clone all along.
What is it? The Force awakes or something. There's been awakening.
There's been
the dark side and the light. Brilliant. Love the trailer.
Good
It's
promotion.
The only thing I really did enjoy in that whole trilogy, sadly, though, Steve. But look, I'm done, man. I'm not going to start dissing down on Star Wars again. Seems to be a nightly thing with me. I says Amber Turth last night, put to bed Kathleen Kennedy. I had a dig. We weren't even speaking about Star Wars. I had a reason to dig it tonight because we actually are speaking about Star Wars. But look, guys, moving away from Star Wars, what's your thoughts on Denis Villeneuve? Or Villeneuve? Or Villeneuve? Or Villeneuve? I don't know how you say the man's name. I'm not Canadian. French Canadian. Someone help us out if you speak French Canadian, whatever the hell that is. Is it Denis? Is it Dennis? Is it Villeneuve or Villeneuve?
Dennis.
It's not every day you see someone chin big bananas. That's an off-feeder-saying pet reference, incidentally. We do love that on here.
Yeah.
What do you make about Mr. Villeneuve's struggle to finish the upcoming Dune. Do you think he'll get it done? Do you think is it sowing the seeds of excitement within you that this man has got a tight little time schedule? He's made his reshoots, he's made these necessary changes, and now he's struggling away. I think it's all going to come good in the end. What's your thoughts on this new Netflix movie with Tom Holland? I'm struggling mightily to get this screen to sort of reload. I don't know the name of the movie, but the Netflix movie
That's
starring,
that website again.
yeah, it's the devil all the time. Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson. Is this another sign that Netflix are truly the daddies when it comes to the streaming war? They're just bringing all of this talent in. What's your thoughts on it? What's your thoughts on, obviously, your man James Gunn debunking the Poison Ivy theory? And finally, Pineapple Express 2 failed to be made for $5 million. Is that something you care about? Did you want to see it? What do you make about these Star Wars movies changing titles? Do you want to see that put into existing canon, or should it just be left as a little joke on Twitter? If you've got anything to say at all, guys, comment below and let us know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and can subscribe. This is my first picture as a director. You can subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying content like this, and if you do, you'll see me here tomorrow again on my own. God help me. Bye bye, guys.